Step SMV will help you to induce lucid dreams this night or next night. Most of people who try this will be successful. It is very effective. It is simple. It is interesting. And if you combine these factors together, maybe it is the most effective technique of one of them. It works because it helps to maintain consciousness, allow our brain, and induce phantom sensations at the same time. As you understand, as you may predict, these factors are extremely important to induce lucid dreams. I've been practicing lucid dreams for more than 2 decades. I've been studying it in my lab, help other people to induce uh, lucid dreams. Believe me, there's no other technique which could be compared with the effectiveness of this one. I found this technique accidentally during our studies in the lab. Then I tasted this technique on many people. So now we can get clear instructions uh, which are proved by many people. You can download this particular image by the links in the description. And my goal is to explain you how to implement this technique, how to use it. The first goal is to create a plan of action for your lucid dream. Actually, it refers to any technique, and it is a basic information, but you should understand that step SMV is used upon awakenings, and when we wake up at night or in the morning, usually we are lazy, we are sleepy, and you have to be very motivated to try uh, some technique. And to do this, you should create an interesting and very emotional plan of action, and it will help you to start to do something at least upon awakenings. Also, it will help you to create strong intention to induce lucid dreams, and it is the key factor to be successful using any technique. Your plan of action should not consist of more than 3 goals, it's enough. But once again, you may use this list to create something interesting and emotional. Next step, it's about the technique itself. As the first step, you should recall your route from the bed to the street and divide it in a few steps. Should make around 8, 9, maybe 10 steps, and each step should have at least 3 objects, and each step should have them, and you must understand them. You should memorize them, and to make it easier, your routes must be very intuitive. You should not think about steps on the route, but you should think only about the objects. And your goal when you will use this technique is to imagine yourself on a step, and imagine yourself touching and scrutinizing 3 objects on each step. The most important thing here is not only imagining them, that you touch and scrutinize them, but also to count them. So on each step, you touch and scrutinize 3 objects. You must do it very attentively, and you at the same time count them. You count your actions. Whatever you touch, whatever you try to see, you should at the same time count these objects. And eventually, If you do everything properly, for example, upon awakening, you start imagine how you walk, how you go through your route, and at one moment, imagination becomes real. To practice this technique, um, after watching this particular instruction, just close your eyes, remind yourself about the route, and go through it very carefully, touching and scrutinizing and counting objects. It's just for practice. Now let's talk about when we can use this technique. You may try it at nights, mornings, or afternoon naps, and it can be used upon awakenings. When you wake up, during each awakening, you have approximately 1 or 2 minutes to induce lucid dreams easily. And this technique should be used exactly during these moments. Also, you should not try it for more than 3 days per week, especially if you're a newbie, because to induce lucid dreams, we always need intention, energy, and please do not dissipate it by trying too much. And at the same time, please try this technique only when you can sleep longer than usually. Now let's discuss a few rules before falling asleep and before you want to try this technique. First of all, avoid going online before bedtime. Please don't use social web, don't surf internet before falling asleep because it distracts our brain and we lose intention, and as a result we are less effective while trying any technique, not only this one. If it is possible, go to bed at least have an hour earlier than usually, maybe an hour earlier than usually. It will help you to sleep longer, and it will help you um, to sleep in REM stages more, which is important because lucid dreams happen only during REM stages. Also, you should set an alarm for 2 hours before getting up. We'll talk about it later. If needed, use earplugs and sleeping masks. For example, if it is too loudly in your room in the morning or there's too much light, of course, you should help yourself to avoid these problems. And rehearse the technique at least 2 to 3 times before falling asleep. Next, just recall your LD plan and fall asleep with a strong intention to perform Step SMV anytime you wake up. So, before falling asleep, you should practice this technique in your imagination. It means you should try to go through the route 2 to 3 times, imagining yourself on each step, and imagine yourself touching and scrutinizing and counting at least 3 objects on each step. So do it before falling asleep, and then just try to fall asleep thinking about lucid dreams and thinking about implementing this technique on every single awakening. So what should you do during awakenings? Every time you wake up, just walk through the route. So this is the core of the technique. All you need to do is just to go through the route every single time you wake up. Try to reach the final destination. If no result, just fall asleep and try again later. So, for example, if you reach the final destination and you are not successful, you should think about next attempt and fall asleep again. If success, you may try again if you want, but the key factor is to concentrate on any unusual sensations during the process. For example, when you try to feel something for real, you should concentrate on this. So we start this technique in our imagination, but gradually you start to perceive more and more sensations, and your goal is to focus on any unusual sensation during the process. We'll talk about it a little bit better. Um, and also, you should not try this technique for more than 1 or 2 minutes each awakening. If it doesn't work, it makes no sense to try it longer, because you lose chances to induce REM sleep again. So just wake up, try it once for 1 or 2 minutes, and that's it. If it doesn't work, just fall asleep to try again later. Set a minimum goal for your night. For example, try no matter what at least 3 attempts per night. So when you practice this technique before falling asleep, and when you fall asleep, just think about at least 3 attempts to use this technique upon awakenings. Let's make it your minimum goal. And as a result, you must try it on every single awakening. Just use any chances to use this technique. And it means you should use any awakening, every single opportunity. If success, if you induce a lucid dream by this technique, you should follow your goals, which we discussed at the beginning. Let's discuss a little bit what should we do after the alarm rings. Um, when it happens, just get up, go drink something, maybe eat something a little bit, then rehearse the technique again and fall asleep with intention to try it upon each next awakening. Because in the morning we experience much more REM stage, your attempts in the morning will be much more effective. So you can try it at night and in the morning just by using any single opportunity, any single awakening, at least 3 of them during each night. And now let's discuss how to understand that you are successful. The obvious one is when you try to imagine yourself at a certain point, and in one moment you understand that you are not imagining it, but you perceive real sensations. The goal is to try to imagine yourself at a point touching at least 3 objects and counting them, and gradually you start to feel all of these sensations for real. It is your goal to reach uh, full full-fledged sensations. Um, Also, spontaneously you may experience false awakenings, and if you catch it, you should understand that you're successful. Also, spontaneously, you may find yourself in a dream, so you may become conscious during a dream. Understand that you're dreaming without this technique, by with intention to use this technique. It is success as well. And when it happens, for example, when your sensations become real, or when you find yourself in a dream without even using this technique, you should understand that you don't need to go through the route again. You need this route just to induce a lucid dream. But when you find yourself successful, you just need to follow your goals. For example, you wanted to see somebody, travel, entertain yourself, etc. So If you're successful, don't uh, follow this route anymore. Once you perceive sensations, not physical sensations, you're successful. At the same time, you should understand that sometimes you experience vibrations or sleep paralysis or other sensations like some visual sensations or audio sensations, and you should understand that you are successful as well. In this case, you may find yourself in your body, and all is left to do is just to separate from it by getting up, levitating, focusing sensations, and also you can use this technique to separate from your body as well. So there are a few possible outcomes, and you must be prepared for all of them. But sometimes it does not work. And now let's talk about all possible outcomes, negative outcomes. Let's think about it. This technique is so great because it is very easy to understand what is wrong and how to improve your next attempts. The most frequent problem is that people fall asleep during this technique. First of all, you should understand that your goal is to count each object and just try to count up to three each time, each step. So not just count them, but you must count up to three, and you should be focused on this. So it's not just counting, you should count up to three no matter what, each single step. Then if it doesn't help, you may touch and scrutinize only two objects, and of course you should count up to two in this case. Perceive each object as attentively as only possible. So it's not enough just to imagine it somehow. You should try to feel everything by real. You should do it somehow. It should merge in your sensations, in your imaginary sensations. So as if you're really there. If you fall asleep, you may try to change your route, trying to make it more entertaining. Then sleep longer during this night of attempts. If you fall asleep anyways, on each step, ask yourself, am I awake? It will help you to analyze yourself and stay awake. And of course, you may rehearse the technique during the day and even practice it in reality. So, for example, if you fall asleep all the time, you may practice this technique in reality, not only in your imagination. Also, you may go through the whole route without any success. If it happens, you should fall asleep and try again. But if it happens all the time, it means you should do something with it. And there are a few solutions which may help you. The first and the most obvious one is to find more than three objects and count them as well. Also, you may stay on each step longer and touch everything, doing it all more passively. You may skip counting objects completely if you are too awake during this technique. Also, you may try as a fall asleep during each step. So try to see, try to touch it, count it, and simultaneously try to fall asleep, as if this technique is a way to fall asleep. It's hard to explain, but subconsciously you understand how to fall asleep. And all you have to do is just to combine this technique with your intention to fall asleep, and it will help you significantly. Of course, Rehearsing this technique during the day helps a lot. As I said, when you wake up, you should go through the route once, but if you stay awake, you're too awake each time, you may try it twice, but mostly there's no reason to try more. And one more problem, sometimes some people just cannot induce attempts, they cannot catch awakenings to try, and there are a few tips to solve this problem. First of all, make much stronger intention upon falling asleep. So when you fall asleep, just think about this technique more, think about your goals more, just program yourself to wake up and make the attempts. When you fall asleep um, at night, you should rehearse the technique. If there's no awakenings, rehearse it more. Especially, you should try it more when you wake up 2 hours before uh, your usual awakening. When you get up, when you drink and snack, you should rehearse this technique again. It will help you to create subconscious program to wake up and recall the technique. Uh, Very often you just don't sleep enough and you're too sleepy. That's why you cannot catch awakenings and make attempts. So just sleep longer during the night of attempts. If nothing helps, you may set several alarms, for example, each hour, and try this technique at least every time these alarms ring. When we sleep, we wake up at least once to get up finally, and it means that you have at least one attempt each night. So just use any single opportunity to use this technique. And sometimes when you wake up, it seems that you are too awake and there's no reason to try any technique. Avoid this thinking, just try it. Even if you move upon awakening, even if you open your eyes, just close them and relax and try the technique no matter what. So don't search for reasons to not try this technique. Just try it. Just use any single opportunity to try this technique at night or in the morning. So we've discussed all the basic rules behind the technique. Once again, it's hard to find more effective technique, and all is left to do for you is just to try it by yourself.